Hey, friends. Over the next few months, I will be interviewing unique people who have great ideas on how to make radical changes in America's eating habits, boost awareness of our environment, and contribute to the economic health of our country. This is Meryl Kennedy, and this is my podcast. Welcome to Rice Up Your Bowl. We have today with us Betsy Ward, CEO and President of USA Rice, and also a very dear friend of mine. Welcome, Betsy.
Hi, Meryl. So great to see you. I miss you.
I miss you too. It's been way too long since we've been together. That's for sure. So I'm so excited to have you on the show today because, as you know, I started this podcast a little bit over a month ago, and it's all about changing people's habits in the U.S. and healthy eating, but also about environmental impact. And with this month being, all about Make America Beautiful and, talking about some of the things that we do, I think, as an industry of USA Rice about sustainability with you, the president and CEO of USA Rice, I think was a perfect topic. So before we go into all that fun stuff, I wanted to focus a little bit more about your journey as a person, because I think it's pretty obvious. You're a female, I'm a female, right? So there's not that many of us in the ag business, period.
Right.
So tell me, how'd you start on this journey?
Well, how far back do you want me to go? My first job in Washington, I worked for the American Forest and Paper Association, which is it's a trade association for the wood and paper industry. Like we're the trade association for rice, and started there. Literally, I had a master's degree from Columbia, and I started as the secretary for the CEO. The guy, he hired me because I just needed a job, and he said, well, you seem a little overqualified. I said, I just need a job. So I ended up staying there for 17 years and worked my way up to being the director of a whole division, managing a lot of people, like probably 30 people, most of them overseas. So that was interesting. And look, timber is like rice, kind of a male dominated place. But I had really good mentors. I had really good, actually mostly male mentors. I was certainly disadvantaged in terms of what they were paying me, I think, compared to all the guys working there. But I worked really hard and kind of made a name for myself there, and then went to Rice temporarily, like just for like a year and a half, under another CEO. So I got to meet people in the rice industry, it was a really great experience for me because I really liked the industry. But then I got hired back to run my own little organization called the Hardwood Federation. So that was really my first time being in charge of a trade association, and it was fairly small, but it was gave me a lot of really good experience. So then when they made a transition at Rice, they asked me to apply for the job, and I got it. So basically just worked my way up, really worked hard. And I guess one of my
Some of
sort
those
of
early starts too,
yeah, and one of yeah and
made a big difference.
well, and one of my life lessons is never burn any bridges, right? Because you never know um, who you're going to encounter in future lives. And so I left Rice the first time in a really good position. I had known everybody. People didn't want me to leave, but I had a better opportunity. But then when an opportunity came up, they thought of me, which was kind of great. So yeah, I was pretty fortunate that I only applied for one job. That was it. That my first job. And then every other job was, being asked to move up or do something different. So
Well, I think that speaks a lot about you, and I've had the pleasure to work with you, and it says a lot. But I wasn't there when they appointed you as the leader, but I know that there's some tough men part of that group at the time. So I think that you stood out among a lot of people.
yeah.
I I wanted to ask you one more question. Just what is your favorite career moment? I mean, what's kind of been the ultimate so far um, that you've
Yeah.
experienced?
I guess I've had a lot, and I would say they all, for me, there it's always the first step is I don't feel qualified. I don't feel ready for it. I feel like, I'm intimidated. And then once I get in there and start doing it, it builds confidence, right? So I probably, one of my best moments was getting accepted to Columbia University from a master's program where I thought, no way. I went to a state school, I didn't
I'm
really, I didn't think I measured up. And I got there and I was super intimidated by all the sort of Ivy League uh, types, but I did really well out there, and again had great mentors. But I'd say really getting the job at Rice was really the crowning achievement for me, because again I was like, really, you really think I could do this? And I wasn't sure I could, and having to really be in charge, to really be the one. I'd always sort of reported to other people, and so now it was like everything was really my responsibility, and it was pretty stressful at first, to try to learn about a whole new industry that I didn't really know much about rice. I knew how to sort of manage
You
a
knew
trade
rice was on
association.
a plate, right?
I loved rice. Everybody in my family was like, rice, that's great. Of course, my father said, when I got the job, he said, oh, you're going to go work for the Chinese. And I was like, no, Dad, we actually grow rice here. It's that famous, nobody knows we grow rice here.
Well,
But
I feel you,
yeah,
as you know very well, I'm the vice president of the USA Rice Millers Group now, to be the chairman, first female elect. And I do feel the same. It is pretty intimidating, but it's because people like you went before me. So I appreciate that.
mhm.
And it's
Well,
also because people like you went before me that others believe in me too. So
Well, I mean, and I think that's great. First of all, I'm so proud to be here when this happens, when the first woman will be running the Rice Millers Association, because that is really an old boys network. I mean, if any organization, it's been around for what, 110 years, and you'll be the first woman. So that's really progress. And I've seen, it's been really rewarding for me too to see other people. There's a woman farmer in Arkansas who's now the first woman on the Riceland board. So
absolutely.
that happened, a year ago. So things are changing. It's good.
Yeah,
It's a
and
positive.
I know that she's also big into the sustainability movement. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about sustainability in USA Rice and some of the things that we've been working on as an industry. I just like you to share some of those things with our audience.
Sure. So when I came to Rice, I guess it was 2007, and again, I had come from the sort of timber industry, and I would say gone through what I called the timber wars. It was back when, I don't know if you remember the spotted owl, and it was the big battle between environmentalists and the timber industry. And I always thought that we had a great story to tell in wood products and paper products, and it's a sustainable product. You replant trees, they grow. But I watched my organization sort of fight back, I guess, and not sort of embrace this opportunity to tell their story. They do now, they do a great job now, but at the time there was a lot of conflict. And so when I came to
Well, I think
Rice,
it's a natural thing to be protective, right? To say, well, I'm not killing owls, right?
that's
Because
right. And
it's also
yeah,
it's a bit of a reflex, like I wouldn't do that, right? And so then you
right,
hit it, then you go a little bit too far and don't realize all the benefits you're actually doing that you could talk about.
right. And I think the knee jerk is to resist and say, we don't, we want to keep doing what we're doing.
That's right.
Um, and sometimes that doesn't work out. And sometimes then you're forced to do things. It's even worse because you have to do things that you don't want to do. Or in the case of the timber industry, they shut down, huge tracts of public lands for sawmills, and people lost their jobs. I mean, it was a terrible situation for them. So when I came to Rice, I thought, first of all, what a great product, and then also what a great. The more I learned about how rice is grown and the sustainability story, I thought we really need to get on the bandwagon and tell the story, because it's an impressive story. And again, from my experience at Timber, I knew it was coming, that our end users and customers are going to start asking, what's the sustainability profile of rice? I mean, it's so right off the bat, I started talking with our members about, hey, we need to form a committee, and we need to start, you know, kind of pulling together all the information about what we're doing and then figure out how we keep doing it, right? And I got a lot of resistance actually early on. People were like, nope, that sounds like we're going down a regulatory path. You're going to set us up for, and I kept saying, no, this is to get ahead of the game, right? We
Yeah,
want
this
to
is
be,
coming. This wave is already here,
yeah,
and
yeah. And I,
well,
yeah,
right.
right. And let's tell our story and let's not let people dictate to us how we're going to grow our product. Let's tell them how we do it, why we do it the way we do it, and then about all the benefits. So that's kind of how we started. And man, we've come, we've just really done well. And I think, I mean, as well as anybody what a rice field and what we bring to the environment and how we create habitat for waterfowl all through the Mid-South and in California. And that's really quite unique for an ag product. I mean, I don't think many other ag products can say that.
Another one out there from an
There
acreage
isn't.
perspective too, that
Nope.
create such a habitat. And we
Yep.
talk a lot about waterfowl and that relationship with Ducks Unlimited and things, but there's other animals, right, that benefit from that as
Yep.
well.
Yep. And I mean, early on, I learned when we had the BP oil spill, if you remember that
Mhm.
horrible situation, and NRCS, which is a division of USDA, the Natural Resources. I'm not going to remember the name anyway. NRCS. They came to us and said, "We'd like to ask your farmers to keep water on their fields longer than they normally do so that the waterfowl doesn't go fly to the Gulf, that it stays longer in the rice fields." And I was like, okay. And we did that and saved, we don't even know how many birds and ducks and it worked. And then we got a big award and, it was kind of cool. It was kind of a cool thing to be a part of. But overall, I think we've done a really good job of communicating to to everybody what we're doing. We're recognized as leaders on sustainability in Washington. We're recognized by a lot of our end users. They're really, and this. I mean, I've seen you profiled in, was it Kellogg or one of our end users. They really like to tell our story, and they have a lot more resources than we do, right? So the most we can amplify what we're doing by using our partners like a Kellogg or an Anheuser-Busch or many of our end user companies that are really wanting to tell that story. So it's been
Yeah,
really
no,
positive.
I think so. The big kind of on the bucket list for them right now is the CO2 emissions and how you calculate that and how you get that off the farm. So I know that there's been a lot of work also being done by the Federation on like alternate wetting and drying practices. And like you said, there's a whole task force working on how we can improve as an
Yeah,
industry. It is challenging to get that information that we, from the farm, all the way through the supply chain, just because of traceability. There's all kinds of roadblocks and things like that. And there's generational gaps, and some people are using technology and some people aren't. But I think that the foundation is there. And if we can continue to kind of move that direction, then we can continue to kind of get people involved and want to be part of really a dynamic effort. But I always tell people that the U.S. Is really the gold standard. People, don't realize how much the U.S. farmer was already in rice, absolutely, but other grains as well. Already, the U.S. farmer was doing from a sustainability piece, just from a cost savings. I mean, we're much more focused on, the putting out the right amount of chemicals, for instance, not just, putting out chemicals. So there's a lot that's been done on the US farm in the last 50 years that needs to be told. And I'm excited to kind of see how that works. I think that it's just, again, just trying to use that technology piece to tell the story a little bit better, and how you get that from the farm can be challenging, but there's no other country in the world that's doing the things that we're doing.
that's that's right.
So,
And
and
there is a little bit, as a little bit of a double standard there when
absolutely.
some of our end users will talk to me about, well, you need to be doing this and that, and I say, well, so don't you manufacture your product using rice in other countries, and are you asking them to do the same thing? And the answer is always like, oh, we're going to start here, so, but that's fine, and we can do it. I mean, I think some of the things that we've done particularly on water, I mean, that's really been a focus on the sustainability piece for us, because water is a valuable resource. It's going to be in the future
Well,
most.
and the California market is so dependent on water too.
Right.
California is a big piece of our growing region.
Yep, yep. And but even in the mid-South, I mean, when you see all the, there's obviously you've experienced the floods and hurricanes and all this water. We still look at the aquifer.
Quite a few
It's still
natural disasters.
yeah, right. But it's still going to be the I think the challenge of the future is access to water. And we obviously need water to grow rice, and that's so conserving water and figuring out ways to grow rice using less water, which also has the side benefit of less CO2 emissions. So that's a real focus, I think, for us. But we've also said to people that are talking about climate change that, first of all, we've come a long way already, number one. Number two, we're a bit unique because we do use water, but that also provides the habitat. So we want recognition for the steps that we've already taken, and also the habitat that we provide, because that's invaluable. And I think those partnerships, that's one of the things that I've learned too, is you can form partnerships like the Ducks Unlimited partnership, like Audubon, some of these um, maybe left of center groups that have a lot bigger reach than we do, but
Absolutely.
they recognize what we're doing. And so we've got to keep those partnerships going, and they go to bat for us, and that's really important. That's how we, I think, fight above our weight class as a trade association, because we're not, as I mean, the rice footprint is 3 million acres. It's not, we're not wheat, we're not corn, we're not soybeans, we're relatively small. So our voice is louder than most, I think, in that regard.
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
we're well beyond the pack too on the efforts that we're making and the story that we are telling about the industry in general. I think that during the pandemic, thankfully, rice kind of came to the forefront. Actually, we might need to grow rice in the country, and that might be an important food group to sustain our population, right? So
I know.
I know that the industry in general so excited to see us doing some more marketing around rice, and that rice is grown here in the US and supporting our US farmers. So that's super exciting. But lastly, I just want to talk about the fact that rice is healthy. Nobody talks about this. I
I
talk
know.
about it, but I need an expert like yourself, someone that people believe in, to tell us the facts here. So tell me a little bit about why rice can be part of a healthy diet, and why people shouldn't be scared to eat it.
Right. Well, we've done a lot of research on the nutritional benefits of rice. Since I've been at USA Rice, we got brown rice categorized as a whole grain, which is a big deal. But just rice in general, it's gluten free, it's low fat. We also did a study that shows that people that eat rice eat healthier diets because they're adding vegetables and lean meats, so that rice eaters actually have healthier diets than non-rice eaters. So that's a big one, I think. And yeah, I mean, it's one of the healthiest things you can eat, and it's easy to make. And although I don't know why some people seem to struggle with it, but I don't really get that. It's
It's
just so
okay.
easy.
We just put out some videos on how to make rice. So
Yeah.
if anybody has questions about how to eat rice, looking forward
You have some good, 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 good. Yeah. Well, and I think, as one of the challenges that we have, first of all, is to tell consumers that it's grown here, right? And to look for the grown in the USA label, because we know that people want to support farmers. They want to support American farmers. We know that it's a fact, and they don't want to be buying stuff from all over the world. They'd rather buy it that's grown with, American farmers. So we need to tell that story, and that's something we need to continue to do. But we also need to, and I think your company is doing a great job of this, which is, new varieties, right? Like we need to be marketing varieties that people want. Some of it is aromatic rices that are very popular in restaurants, and because of some ethnic communities. That's what they're looking for. So, that's a challenge, and we keep pushing that message out to our researchers and to, farmers that, we need to be able to provide American rice in all the different varieties that people want. And I know you guys are doing that
Yeah,
right now.
so we're actually working right now to hopefully continue to develop some of those varieties to the standard that some of the imported varieties are at. I think that
Yep.
the biggest issue is that, it has been cheaper in the past to import. And, I think the pandemic, at least, it did for me, it reconfirmed a lot of my faith, but I hope it gave other people kind of this message of, again, it's important that we're growing the food that we eat in our home country,
Yep.
especially some of the real basic food groups that really sustain people, right? So rice is the number one food in the world. I mean,
Right.
it's has long shelf lives. To me, it's a national security issue, and I know that maybe that's a bit far, but for some, but I do truly believe that.
I do too.
You can actually live without toilet paper, not comfortably. You can't live without rice and water. So,
Well,
you know,
yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it was fascinating to. I'm in a group called the CEO Ag Council, so it's all the CEOs of all the different ag groups. And when the pandemic hit, you know, the guys from the pork industry, all the challenges that everybody had, and we had challenges too because people, stockpiled rice, and they were hoarding rice, and the supply chain really couldn't, and I got the question from media, so are we running out of rice? No, we're not running out of rice. We just, the logistics were a challenge for everybody. But I do think it drove home, as you said, the national security implications of having your food come from this country.
yeah,
And frankly, again, as you said, the standards that we grow our product under are the first class in the world. And the safety of our food, the safety of
absolutely.
our rights.
There's no
And the,
denying the food safety aspects from just our production manufacturing side. There's no
yeah,
denying the eco carbon footprint, not just because our farmers are sustainable, just because buying locally grown food is more sustainable. You're not hauling it across the world.
right,
So really the last missing piece is just, again, to your point, we've got to, continue to evolve our technology on the seed side to make sure we're providing varieties that people want to eat. And also
yep,
that the cooking consistency of many of our ethnic groups we see more and more population come into the US that are rice lovers, as we call them. We want to make
right.
sure we're providing US rice that meets their standard.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
and that's a different standard than maybe, a person that didn't grow up eating rice as part of their daily diet.
right. They're very they're very
Just a
specific
bit
about
more,
what they want.
just a bit
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I always compare rice for my American friends as almost a meat for people in many countries because
Oh,
if you can buy just a little bit better grade of meat, you are right. And so that's the same with rice. People,
and we know, and look, we know, for example, in Cuba, where they're huge, they couldn't eat another grain of rice. I mean, they eat it 3 times a day. That they so much want American rice there because they remember the high quality, and the rice they're getting now is not. It's really just terrible, and they just, so we're hoping maybe we can get that
yeah,
market back up and going again. But that's an example of people that, they're forced to eat a low quality product, and they really, really want what they got from us, so it's, yeah,
no, I think all the work that the Federation and USA Rice has done on, our trade negotiations has been huge, and you've been extremely impactful on, even some other countries that we didn't talk about today. But the Cuba market is something that, in my lifetime, I hope to see open. So
yeah, I
maybe
think it,
I think it will too. I think it
yeah,
will too. So, again, thank you for sharing your inspiring story with us. I'm inspired, honestly, just working with you on a daily basis. And I'm so proud that I'm not the only one telling people that rice can be part of a healthy lifestyle and a
oh
healthy
my God,
diet.
yep,
So, I think we both share the same thought to eat more rice, right? What is it?
It's I'm
Think rice?
Yeah, think rice, and yeah, I'm so proud to represent such a wonderful product, right? It's just, when you say you work for people are like rice, oh, I love rice. I mean, it's it's just such a wonderful food, and yeah, I'm really proud to be associated with the farmers and folks like you, and all the way through the supply chain. So yeah.
Well, we appreciate people like you that make a difference, not only to, humanity, but also to the environment, all the things that we're working on. So thank you again, Betsy, for being on the podcast today. And I look forward to seeing you in July.
Yes, thanks, Meryl. Okay, take care.